So, materials that we will need. So, when we do Christmas lights, we actually make our own extension cords. And with us making our own extension cords, this is how we are able to customize designs and to make a house look like it's supposed. The Christmas lights are actually supposed to be there, or the holiday lights are supposed to be there. We don't have extra lights hanging down because they were too long, or it's too short and now it don't look right. So the way we do that is we use customized cord. We can customize the extension cord. We can customize the Christmas lights themselves, the bulbs, the whole everything can be customized into that. With us being able to do that, that helps lower our cost down. It looks better, and it's a lot safer. So there is two different types of wires here. There's SPT1 and SPT2. The only difference of SPT1 to SPT2 is the size of the actual sheathing here. You can see on the SPT1 is 0.03 the insulation, and on SPT2 is 0.045. So it's not very much of a thickness difference, but there is a little bit difference. So when we were first taught how to make Christmas lights, we was taught that if you use SPT2, it would allow 10 amps, and SPT1 would only allow 7 amps. And that's not the case. In fact, that's not the case at all. So the size of the wire is 18.2. And 18.2, it's 18.2 in SPT1 and SPT2. And 18.2 or 18 gauge wire will only allow it to flow so many amps. And what amps are is how much load you have on your Christmas lights. So how many Christmas lights do you have? Now, with us using LED, this isn't a big issue at all. You can go SPT1, and very rarely are you going to get up into the 5 to 7 amps of range at all. Now, back in the old days when we used to do incandescent bulbs, which are the old filament bulb like type, now they used a lot of electric. So just to give you a for instance of how much of the difference of electric it is being used, old versus new, the old you could only put 130 bulbs of the C9 bulbs in on one circuit, and you were at 10 amps. At 130 bulbs, you were at 10 amps. The new C9s, I can put 130 and I'll be less than probably 0.75 amps. So you can see the big difference of what made the difference in the Christmas lights for your extension cords. So we can put 800 bulbs on here. Actually, I think you can almost get to 1400 bulbs before you really start to push the amperage of what that cord will draw. So this is something that you used to, the old style was very important, and that's why we went with SPT2. Now, new style, if I had to start over, I would start all over in SPT1. It's a little bit cheaper, and that's the only factor you have is, like I say, we were taught it was 7 and 10, and that's not the case. If you actually look down here, if we're less than 50 feet, it's 10 amps, and then after 50 to 100 feet is 7 amps, and then over 150 feet is only 50 amps. So if we bring in two sources and we're less than 50 amps, that's fine. We can get up to 10 amps. But the other issues with being real high electricity at the amperage side of things is then we might start blowing things inside the house, and that's maybe their garage doors on that same GFCI that this extension cord is on, and when they go to open that, when we have 10 amps on this extension cord, when they go to open that garage door, it may pop that breaker, and now they can't get into their house. And so that's some things that we want to be careful with. Another reason why I always say we want to stay around 7 amps. If we stay around 7 amps, we will never have an issue of electrical issues. And 7 amps, I mean, if you got to go to 10, that's fine. Just be careful that you may run into other issues. But you can put a buku loads of C9s, and then your minis are going to pull more than your C9s. So SPT1 and SPT2, the only really difference is the size of the coating. There's no other difference and of it, and the cost. The cost is a little bit more cheaper to go SPT1 versus SPT2. The only other thing is SPT1 versus SPT2 is our connections, our male and our female on our plugs here. SPT2 is a little bit harder to push on than SPT1 because where that casing is not so thick, it actually is a little bit easier to push on for SPT1 versus SPT2. So you can see I've had to push pretty hard just to get it that far, where SPT1 is a little bit easier to get in there and get on. So we'll make our own extension cords, and this is a great way to get our plugs. We will get all that stuff and our wire we can get from our supplier, which is Bill Burkle or Bill Borgeson, and I will put his information down below. This is where we get all our C9s and our wire and our plugs, and our clips and all that kind of stuff. And he gives us a great deal. He's probably you'll have a hard time finding anywhere cheaper. Just make sure you might want to mention my name, that I was the one sending you there to him, and you took my class. And that way you will get a great deal on this stuff.